Have you ever said something you later regretted? Have you ever wished you had just remained silent? The Buddha once said, "Better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace." Today, we'll explore why the Buddha taught us the power of silence and why 90% of our words may be more harmful than helpful. We live in a world addicted to words. News feeds, tweets, comments, arguments. We are drowning in opinions, judgments, gossip, and noise. But what if silence is not emptiness, but truth waiting to be heard? According to Buddhist teachings, speech is one of the most powerful forces a human can wield. It can heal, it can destroy, it can deceive, or liberate. That is why the Buddha placed right speech as one of the steps on the Noble Eightfold Path. But before we dive into what right speech is, let's understand something deeper. Why are most words harmful? Imagine if every word you spoke was recorded, played back, and analyzed. How many would bring peace? How many would hurt, divide, boast, or complain? A famous Zen saying goes, "Foolish speech causes regret. Silence never does." Let's look at 5 common ways our words cause harm. Gossip, talking about others behind their back, breeds mistrust and karma. Exaggeration, inflating stories for praise distorts truth and feeds ego. Blame, finding fault in others avoids self-accountability. Judgment, harsh words lock people into boxes. Idle chatter, meaningless talk, wastes precious energy and attention. When Buddha said to practice right speech, he didn't just mean avoid lies. He meant to speak only when what you say is true. It is necessary. It is kind. It is timely. If it doesn't meet all 4, remain silent. The Buddha often practiced noble silence, a purposeful, awakened stillness. In fact, when asked deep, philosophical questions, such as, "Is the universe eternal?" or "What happens after death?" the Buddha simply stayed silent. Why? Because some questions arise not from wisdom, but from restlessness. Because words cannot hold certain truths, and because silence itself teaches. Noble silence is not the silence of suppression. It is the silence of presence, of full awareness, without disturbance. It says, "I do not need to speak to be wise. I do not need to respond to be right." Now let's understand silence through a deeper lens. The mind. According to Buddhism, the mind is like a pond. Every word we speak is a stone we throw into it. The more we speak, the more ripples we create, disturbing clarity. But in silence, the water's still, the mud settles, and what lies beneath, the truth, is revealed. In meditation, we learn that silence is not the absence of sound, but the absence of inner compulsion, the urge to justify, to defend, to explain. As the mind grows still, insight arises naturally. So when the Buddha teaches silence, he is not silencing our voice, he is freeing our awareness. In the Pali Canon, the Buddha classified speech into 4 types: true and beneficial. This is ideal speech, rooted in wisdom and compassion. True but unbeneficial, like harsh truths spoken without care. False but beneficial, often motivated by desire to help, but still unethical. False and unbeneficial, outright lies, gossip, or deceit. Only the first is considered right speech. This challenges us daily. Should I correct someone harshly if I'm right? Should I offer praise if I don't fully mean it? Should I speak, or should I simply listen? The Buddha's answer is simple but hard. Speak less, observe more, and speak only with compassion. In moments of conflict, silence can be a weapon or a refuge. Sometimes silence speaks louder than rebuttal. It de-escalates. It allows reflection. It gives space. A great Buddhist teacher once said, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose." That space is silence. It is where anger cools, where compassion can return, where words are not needed because truth has already landed. So how can we practice silence in our daily life? Here are 5 simple ways. Morning silence. Begin each day with 5 minutes of stillness before checking your phone. Pause before reply. Just 2 seconds can change your next words. Silent meals. Try eating 1 meal a week in full mindfulness. And silence. Listen fully. When someone speaks, just listen. Don't plan your response. Digital detox. Take 1 hour daily without screens or speaking. Over time, these practices awaken something powerful, not just the absence of words, but the presence of clarity. Why did the Buddha treasure silence? Because words often bind, but silence liberates. Because words divide, but silence connects. Because when all opinions fade, what remains is being. In a noisy world, silence is sacred. In a world of opinions, stillness is strength. Ending reflection. 28 or 30. As we end this journey, let us remember, silence is not weakness. It is the highest form of discipline. The Buddha knew this. He taught that the path to enlightenment is not built on argument, but on stillness, awareness, and compassion. So, the next time you're about to speak, pause. Ask yourself, is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? Is it timely? If not, gift the world your silence, because in that silence, the Buddha still speaks. Why did the Buddha treasure silence? Because words often bind, but silence liberates. Because words divide, but silence connects. Because when all opinions fade, what remains is presence. In a world addicted to sound, silence is a form of return, a return to the self. Not the self filled with labels, roles, and demands, but the quiet self, the original awareness before speech. In Buddhist tradition, the greatest truths are not spoken, they are realized. And realization requires silence, not just with the mouth, but with the mind. When the chatter quiets, the clarity appears. In that stillness, you don't need more information. You need only to be. Silence is not about rejecting speech. It's about restoring the sacredness of words. The Buddha never said, "Speak nothing." He said, "Speak rightly." Right speech means that every word becomes a tool of awakening. It teaches us to ask, does this word reduce suffering? Does it cultivate kindness? Is it free of ego, blame, or pride? When used wisely, words become medicine. They comfort the grieving, uplift the weary, inspire the lost. A gentle word spoken at the right moment can do more than 1,000 sermons shouted from a mountaintop. Let your words be few, but full of light. Let them be slow, but soaked in sincerity. Sometimes, the most compassionate thing we can offer is silence. When someone is grieving, advice may feel like intrusion. But a quiet presence says, "You are not alone." When someone is angry, arguing back may fuel the fire. But silence says, "I will not add to your pain." When the world feels like it's spinning out of control, to sit beside a friend in stillness can be the loudest declaration of love. Silence, in this way, becomes a sanctuary. It says, "You are safe here. No judgment, no fixing, just being." This is not passivity. It is active listening. It is holding space without control. It is presence without pressure. Silence is not always comfortable. It reveals things you've long buried. It shows you thoughts you'd rather ignore. It forces you to sit with your own inner storm. But that's exactly why silence heals. It becomes a mirror, reflecting your patterns, your fears, your attachments. In the noise, we avoid ourselves. In silence, we finally meet ourselves. And in that meeting, something transforms. We realize, I am not my thoughts. I am the space behind them. This realization is the beginning of freedom. It's how monks in caves, with no books, no sermons, no debates, reach enlightenment through stillness. Because when you stop running from yourself, you begin walking toward truth. The modern world does not lack words. It lacks wisdom. It does not need more opinions. It needs more listening. In a time when everyone is shouting, silence is radical. It is a form of protest against superficiality, against rush, against reactivity. In Buddhist ethics, restraint is strength. To hold back a cruel comment is strength. To remain calm when provoked is strength. To choose not to react is strength. In every moment of silence, you reclaim your power. You say to the world, I do not need to be louder, I need to be clear. You don't need a monastery to practice silence. You don't need a cave to find stillness. You can begin, here and now, in the early morning light, before the world wakes up, in the quiet sip of tea without distractions, in the walk through a garden, phone turned off, in your response, when you choose to pause rather than react, in the breath